Hello and welcome back to another Tech Articles. In this second part to our new multi-site Sandbox project, we are going to begin working on the tail end of this. When I started recording video one, I wasn't sure whether this was going to be a 2 or a 3-parter. I think I've cracked it, so it's probably going to be a 2-parter. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go and set up our Hookshaw base setup, and I have written a plugin to help me with this, and I will talk you through that in the next few stages. So first thing I'm going to do is head back to our multi-site, and I'm going to install Shawforms and Hookshaw, and I'm going to set them to automatically update. Activate. I'm going to do the same again, and this time with Hookshaw. And now Hookshaw is installed and activated. So we now have our plugins activated. I'm also going to upload a different plugin here, which is my Email It Deploy plugin, so that we have emails. So we now have an additional must-use plugin for my Email It API. So we now have the basis of a working site. So we've now got our plugin set up. I'm just going to now enable them to auto update, and that's important because when I upload my next plugin, it will stop that ability. So what I'm going to do now is add a new plugin. I'm going to upload a new plugin, and I'm going to drag this one in over here, and I'm going to install it. So I'm going to network activate that plugin, and you'll see that it's removed my ability to add a plugin. And that's one of the security features that I've built into this plugin. But we get a new option appear in the screen here of Sandbox settings. Now we have two options here to set our secret key and our base domain. And in this case, our base domain is hookshaw.wpdemo.uk. So I'm going to save. And for this demo purposes, I'm going to leave the default setup secret key as our code. And like that, we now have our site set up as we need to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to delete test1. I'm deleting that, and then I'm going to delete the username that we generated as well. So we are back to a clean, fresh site. We have one site, we have one setup, and this is what people will see. They can get to Shawforms, and they can get to Hookshaw. That's exactly how we want it to look. So now I'm going to go back to our network admin site, and we're good to go. I'm going to head over to really useful plugins now, and I'm just going to load the site so when we come back we can reload this page. And I'm going to just talk you, actually I'm going to go to GitHub first, and I'll talk you through some of this code. So I wanted to be able to, if we go back to our multi-site PDF, I wanted to be able to do this automatically via an API. I couldn't find an API that was freely available to do this, so I've created my own. So all this is a little plugin that creates a site via a custom REST API route, which is Sandbox version 1 create, and another one down here that creates it via Sandbox, deletes it via Sandbox version 1 delete, and then it just removes the user and adds the user. So it's very simple. As well as this, it does load a few enhancements for security reasons. So it checks that if you're not a network admin and it is the multi-site, it will load all of these different items up, which just do different things. Blocks direct access to uploads, prevents PHP files being uploaded to the media library, prevents sub-site admins from editing functions.php, and disables theme and plugin file editing. So it's just a few extra security precautions because I'm throwing this in the wild. I've never used a multi-site before, and I thought I'd do a few bits and pieces to try and protect some of that. And I will obviously have to tweak and modify this as the site is up there and we start to see what's going on. So I'm going to head over to really useful plugins, and I've created a little web form saying want to try Hookshaw Sandbox with a copy of the video, and a simple email form, which is from Shortforms. And that is what is going to trigger our workflow. So I'm going to head into FlowMattic, and I've got a brand new workflow here, which we're going to call the Hook Sandbox. And I'm going to save that workflow. And I'm going to enable it while I remember as well. So that's enabled and published. So we want this to trigger not on a webhook, but on a short form submission. So let's configure that. It is Hookshaw Sandbox, continue. And I'm going to push capture response. So I'm going to go back to try Hookshaw. And in here, I'm going to put my email address. And that has been done. I'm going to reload that page because we're going to do this a few times. And we have a response with my email address down here. So we now have everything we need within FlowMattic to begin our workflow. So the first thing I want to do now is PHP function, and I've already written this PHP function. Again, this didn't take me as long as I thought it would. I've written something similar previously, so I was just able to modify it. So the function I want to call is over here, and it is generate random animal string, which I'm just going to copy and paste in here, and then I will talk you through it. Continue, continue, and we'll test it in a second. So what this does is it's got a list of animals. It will randomly shuffle me 3 of them, and it will generate a random number. So it would give us a string for our sandbox. Very similar to what zipwp does and is a WP. So we'll go back to our workflow and we'll test that action. And you'll see here it's generated us a swordfish fish porpoise 8143. So that would be our subdomain. So we're going to save and close that. The next one is directly related to the API that I've created, because we're now going to create some API. We're going to do something with the API. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stick an API in here. It's a post action, and I will write documentation and add it to GitHub for this because it currently doesn't exist. It's literally was pushed a few seconds ago. 12 minutes ago I pushed this code. That's how fresh the code is, so we might even hit some issues. So I'm going to head back to my workflow builder. Now my endpoint for this one is going to be create. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a pre-written version of that. So this is what our endpoint will be for our creation. There's no authentication needed because we're using a parameter for our authentication. And we will call that secret. And that is our secret from here. So this is our secret. I'm going to just paste that in that box. And we now need to do title of our sandbox. And in this case, it's going to be Hookshaw Sandbox. Then we need to add a slug. And this is the slug for our domain. And in our case, that is going to be our PHP generated response. And then we need to put an email, and the email we're going to get from the short form. And like that, continue. Did I activate it on the site? Let's just check. If I go back to Sandbox settings, plugins, yeah, I must have done because it's there. So it's all activated, it's all on. So here we go, first test. Testing the action, and we get back true, site ID 5, and we get a response of Hookshaw. So I'm just going to grab that, I'm going to stick that up here, and I'm going to paste that in and push enter, and it loads. So it is working. And I'm going to go back to our network site, and I'm just going to check that that created a user with me. It did, and that it created a site, which it has done. So everything works as we expect it to. We can now create a sandbox via that API, via the plugin that I've just uploaded and created. So now we're going to head back to our workflow, and what I want to do now, you might not want to do this, but what I want to do, and I'm just going to rename this so that I know what it is, create Sandbox, rename. I'm going to rename this one as well because I try to be orderly when I'm creating these, and I actually plan on reusing this workflow afterwards. So I'm going to call this one generate subdomain. Rename. New form submission is fine. So we're now going to send our Discord message. So that's going to be another API. My previous video explains why it's an API in this case rather than the integration. To me, it's quicker. I'm not going to put my endpoint URL here on this video, but I will do everything else for you. So again, this is an open webhook. You don't need headers. So I'm going to put this one as username, and I'm going to copy this from another workflow that I used in the video the other day. And it was avatar URL. And this is the icon for the avatar. This is the content. And this one's going to say new hook shore sandbox generated. And I'm going to add my generate subdomain response dot hook shore dot wp demo.uk, and that should give me a new hook shore sandbox generated, and then the URL has been generated. I'm going to push on my keyboard now. Hopefully this works. It does. I'm now going to copy my endpoint into this URL so you can't see it. I'm going to push continue. I'm going to turn that off. I'm going to push continue, and I'm going to test that action. And look, that was pointless, wasn't it? I've got no response. I'm going to check Discord, and I have. So it's told me news hookshore sandbox generated, swordfish, fish, porpoise, 8143 hookshore wp demo.uk. That works. So I'm going to rename this one, and I'm going to rename this one. I don't know why it's doing that. Rename this one Discord notification, like so. Rename. So I'm going to save and close that. We've done our Discord now. So the next step, according to what I put on the site, try Hookshore, is a 2-hour delay. For this video, I'm not going to make it a 2-hour delay. I'm going to make it a 2-minute delay. And we're going to go back to our workflow. I'm going to put a delay in here. Where is it? Delay. Well, to delay 4. Configure. Minutes 2. I can then come back and change this later. Continue. Save. I'm going to rename this 2-hour delay for 2 hours, even though it's only for 2 minutes currently, because as I say, I'm going to reuse this workflow. So that should now delay. And now I'm going to just check my notes on what I put in for delete. Okay, so we should have got a response when we did this. It gave us, it did site ID. So I need that site ID. Okay, so another API. Again, this one's going to be post. Again, we're going to use our endpoint the same as the last one, except with delete on the end. That's what it says in my note. So that should be the endpoint. I don't need to use any authentication. I'm going to set the parameters. The parameters are secret, and it is default security key, I think. Let me go back to site admin, security, default security key. Just copy and paste that in there. And I then need site ID, all lowercase, like so. And that came back from our response from Create Sandbox. So we want this one. We're going to continue, and we are good to go. I'm going to go back to our site check that the site is still there, which it is, and we have the user here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head back to our workflow and I'm going to test that action, and they should both be deleted now. So it deleted site 5. I've put the wrong URL in there, I think. That's the wrong site. That's gone to the one I built the plugin on. So let's go back to configure and change this to WP demo.uk. Try that again. Continue. Test action. There we go. Deleted site 5, deleted user 5, save and close. So if we now head back to our site, which is this one here, refresh this, the user's gone and the site is gone. So we now know that delete site works as well. So we now have a fully working flow, which I'm going to save while it works. And I'm just going to rename this one to delete site. Delete site, and then we save that again. So we now have a full working flow. We create our site. We generate our subdomain. We create our sandbox. We send our Discord notification. We delay for 2 hours, which will be 2 minutes in this test, and we delete the site. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to head over to try Hookshaw. I'm going to refresh the page, and I'm going to type in here test@wpcode.dev. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pause this video while I pull up my emails. So I've now pulled up the emails. I'm going to head back to try Hookshaw. So we should get an email. If everything's working in my code, we should get an email sent to here with those details on. If I don't, I will modify the plugin to remove the changes I've made, and we'll recreate this site again to retest, because it's going to be the code I've added to my email plugin that is causing the issue, not anything I've written for this tutorial. That's a me problem for later. So I'm going to submit this. As I say, it's totally untested code, so I've got no idea. I get a thank you note for that. We've already probably generated our site. So Ant Gecko Cat 6095. Oh, well, we did get an email, which is really good news. So we've been given the option to set a password for our link. So I'm going to actually copy that and put a new incognito window. I'm going to paste that in here. I'm going to copy that password. I'm going to save that password. I'm going to log in, and our username was test@wpcode.dev. Test@wpcode.dev. And I'm going to push login, and we are into our multi-site. So this is our multi-site. We have our dashboard here. We are good to go. We only have access to this. We don't have access to the plugins. All good. We have Hookshaw, and we've still got our site here. And what is happening behind the scenes, if we go to the workflow and we go to our history, we should be able to see that we are on our wait. We are. So we are on our, what would have been a 2-hour delay, but it's a 2 minutes delay at this point. It should be any second now. I tend not to have much luck with FlowMattic's delay timer. My 2 minutes usually become 3 minutes. I don't know why, because my sites are on GridPane, and subsequently they are on a relatively fast cron, but I'm guessing it's because the cron's fuzzy, and the fuzzy just happens to always hit me on a delay timer when I'm running a video. So let me go back here, and we still have it. While it does that, I'm going to go back to our multi-site PDF, and we're going to talk through what's left. So actually, I think all of this is done. If we open Discord, we got a notification about that, telling us that the domain had been done and the sandbox had been generated. So I think we've done everything that. I haven't had any emails in my email box about the generation of that site, which again is good. And let me go back here and see if that's still there. It is still there. And I'm going to just check the site settings. for this because it's the where I deleted the creation of notifications. Hopefully, time has now come. Time's still running. Oh, look at that for timing. Site has now been deleted. User has now been deleted. And if we head back over to our workflow and our history, we should now have an extra step. And we do. And that is now a perfect working example of a sandbox generation that will last for a period of time based on this plugin. So what I'm going to do with this, the code is already on GitHub. I will go through the API, although all of the stuff for the API is actually in here. You can see what I've put into that workflow to get this to work. It's actually a really simple API in each case. I will also put a link in the, or some code in the written article that will go with this video for generate random animal string. You don't have to use that exact code. It doesn't have to be animals. It could be cars. It could be whatever you want. In my example, I used animals because there's plenty of them. But you could use cars. You could use anything that's got the more models you have, the more random it will be. And actually, I used animals because I could get ChatGPT to generate that string for me. But I think we're there. I think we've met everything that we wanted to do. We did all this in the first video. I still have a bit of work on my emails situation, but I've disabled notifications of new site creations. I will also disable password change notifications as well, because I don't want those for the sites. But yeah, I set out to do a task. I think I've done it. This video is a little bit longer than I wanted it to be, but I think it would have been disservice to make this a 3-part rather than a 2-part. If there's anything you're not sure of, please do ask, and I'm happy to clear it up. As I say, I will write a written article with this as well. I've already written part 1. It will be on the site before the video goes live even. And part 2 I will write this evening, tomorrow, before I publish this series. So yeah, please do like and subscribe to the channel. It does really, I really do appreciate it. And please do interact. Please do let me know what you think. If there's something you would like to see. If there's something you're not sure of, just let me know. Thanks for watching.